How you doing, everybody? Vasu Party here with the Make the Money and Run podcast for Tuesday, a short one, 5-minute one as we get set up on Facebook here. Hello, everybody to Facebook and also on YouTube joining us live right now. We are here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. This is kind of a special preview for Tuesday. Early in the morning here. I don't know how the weather is where you live, but the weather here in Northern California has been fantabulous. Yes, it's fantabulous. Fantastic and absolutely gorgeous. So fantabulous is the way we go. The last 7 days have been in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in the beaches, and in the 80s and 90s inland. That's your weather forecast for Tuesday at noon Eastern, 9:08 Pacific time on the West Coast. What a day in Major League Baseball yesterday. Short schedule as it is, as I get to it right now. Just want to make sure I had all the Cincinnati Reds finally busted out of their offense. 14 runs they got on Pittsburgh, and that was one of the heavy plays yesterday was on Mitch Keller, going against Mitch Keller and the Pirates yesterday. He has a 12 ERA against the Reds. He pitched well his last few days, but the Reds picked up 14 runs on him. Actually, they had 7 off Keller, and then they got 7 more off the Pirates bullpen. Surprising Pittsburgh Pirates, 14-20. The Reds are 16-16, and yet they're not that far out from first place in the National League Central. Reds get the win 14-1. They will play again today. The Red Sox and Orioles finished their series. The Red Sox lost 4-1 to Baltimore. First time that a home team has won a game in this series so far in 2021. Talk about weird circumstances. The Orioles opened the season in Boston, sweeping the Red Sox 3-0, and then the Orioles came back and swept them in Baltimore the next time they played a 4-game series there. And now in this wraparound 4-game series, Jorge Lopez pitched well for the Orioles for 5 innings, only held the Red Sox to 1 run. And then Trey Mancini and Cedric Mullins in this very unappreciated, better than you thought, Baltimore Orioles at 16-19 beat the Red Sox 4-1 yesterday to snap the Red Sox winning streak. Baltimore at 16-19. Red Sox still have the share of the best record in baseball at 22-14. Now here in the Bay Area, have you seen the San Francisco Giants? San Francisco Giants, a 3-1 victory over the previously hot Texas Rangers coming in. The Rangers had 1-2 out of 3 in Seattle over the weekend at home, and they traveled west. Alex Wood, those that don't know, everybody thinks that he's a new name on the block. He pitched for the Dodgers in 2020, and he's had a pretty good career. He got drafted by the Atlanta Braves. The time of the game, as I look at the box score here, which is fascinating to me, I was not there. The time of the game was 2 hours and 47 minutes. Anything under 3 hours these days is pretty impressive. Alex Wood catches the ball, throws the ball, catches the ball back, gets ready to throw again. The Rangers were held to 1 hit. They were held to 1 run on 6 hits. They did commit a couple of errors, key errors in the game that helped the Giants' cause. But the Giants are playing well. Their defense, they did not commit another error. They turned 2 double plays last night, and Alex Wood pitched a great game. He's 4-0. His ERA is 1.80, and the quick pace that he works. It's good to be. I'm going to quote John Wooden here for those of you. Probably lose half my audience here. John Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach, that said, be quick, not fast. In other words, go through your mechanics, go through your rhythms, go through the way that you go about things, and stay in rhythm and be quick about it and keep up a good pace of what they're saying. And that's been the key to what Major League Baseball want to do, try and keep a good pace. Alex Wood got raised in the Atlanta Braves organization, and when you have a guy like Tom Glavine in your broadcast booth, a Hall of Famer, he pitches just like Tom Glavine in terms of quickness, in terms of location. He throws a little bit harder than Tom Glavine. But you can imagine there were some conversations, lefty to lefty. They're a different breed anyway. But lefty to lefty, Glavine to Wood back in the 2012, 2013, 2014 days when Alex Wood was coming through the Braves organization. Of course, he helped the Dodgers to their world championship last year. The Arizona Diamondbacks are only 3 games back, I believe. Let me see this. They won last night against Miami after losing 2 of 3 to Miami last week. They are 5 games back in the National League West of the Giants, 3 games back of the Padres, 2 back of the Dodgers, who are ahead of them. The Dodgers had an off day yesterday. They host Seattle today and tomorrow afternoon. San Diego got postponed due to snow. There's still snow in Denver. They're going to play a doubleheader tomorrow. They're going to have a regular game tonight. The Padres are 6-4 in their last 10. They're 19-16, 18-17 for the Dodgers is where they're at right now, and they're struggling. They're 2-8 in their last 10, but they're still plus 32 in run differential, tied with Houston, behind the White Sox, who are plus 53, and the Red Sox, who are plus 33. So the offense is sputtered. The bullpen is very shaky for Los Angeles. But getting back to Arizona, the Arizona Diamondbacks playing really well right now. They're 3-7 in their last 10, but they're 16-19. And any hot streak right now or a cold streak by the teams above them can certainly put them back up into the ways of the NL West. 16-19, Bumgarner pitching well. Zach Gallen, one of the best pitchers that nobody knows about in the National League for Arizona. They win 5-0, 5-2 last night over 5-2 the Miami Marlins. Miami drops to 15-19. By the way, we said it last week on the show. Miami Marlins, the only team in the National League East that has a plus run differential. Go figure. The National League East, 16-13 for the Mets, -3. Philadelphia, 16-17. We'll get to the Phillies in a second. Very disappointing start. -8 run differential. Atlanta, who everybody still thinks is going to win the division, 17-17. They've won 2 straight, -12 in the run differential. The Mets have won 5 in a row, by the way, too. Miami's lost 3 in a row. They're 15-19, but they're +17. And then Washington's fallen behind. They lost 2 games to the Yankees on walkout fashion in New York on Saturday and Sunday. They've lost those 2 games, and now they fall behind the Marlins in last place. They're -17 in run differential. How about Jacob deGrom? Jacob deGrom had to go out the other day on Sunday. We talked about it. Casey and I talked about it yesterday on the show. Jacob deGrom, 3-2 in ERA, somewhere in the .7s. He only gave up 1 run in the 5 innings that he threw, but he had to be pulled out. He's on the 10-day IL. Talking about no run support. How are you 3-2 with an ERA under 1? Go figure. And that's in first place. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The Phillies have lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Braves on Saturday. They lost on Sunday Night Baseball with Aaron Nola, the best pitcher. Phillies have a tough time with runners on base. They'll hit with nobody on base, but then when there's runners on base, I hate to keep this non-kid friendly, but that sphincter tightens up for the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know what else to do with the Phillies. They're 18-17, a game back. The Braves are a game and a half back. It looks like they're starting to get things going here with the 2 games over Philadelphia. The Central is very interesting. The Cardinals have won 3 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10, 21-14. The Brewers, 19-16. They've also won 2 in a row, and the Cubs have lost 1 in a row. They lost to the Pirates on Sunday. Cincinnati won yesterday. They're on a 1-game winning streak. Pittsburgh Pirates, -43 in run differential. They've got better hitters than that. I just don't know why they can't put it together. The pitching staff has not been great. Mitch Keller obviously gave up all those runs. Tonight's starter, and we'll get to the games in a second, JT Brubacher, very interesting story for Pittsburgh. He is, as we've talked about with the Detroit Tigers, he is Matthew Boyd right now for the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the few things to watch on this Pirates squad. They're 14-20, which is a lot better than people gave them credit for. I think the Vegas odds for them on the over-under was somewhere around 59.5 wins. Well, they're going to get to 59.5 wins just by playing decent baseball. Move on to the American League now. The Oakland A's had a day off. They go to Boston. Boston off the heels of the loss to Baltimore, 21-15, leading the American League by 2.5 games, 2 over the loss column over Houston and Seattle. Seattle goes to LA tonight. We said Walker Buehler goes for the Dodgers, and Yusei Kikuchi will go for the Mariners tonight. The Rangers had the good weekend over Seattle, but they got shut down by Alex Wood. They're 3.5 back. And the Angels, who got a comeback win against the Astros. Shocking that they came back and shocking that their pitching has held up so far. They're 16-18, but they should be a lot better than 16-18. You got the best player in baseball in Mike Trout. They've only been to the playoffs 1 time in his 10 seasons in Major League Baseball. I know they released Pujols last week, but they just got to get better performance out of their starting pitching and their bullpen as well. 16-18, they've won 2 in a row. They took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers over the weekend, and now they've got a good leg on the road trip here with the Astros. The Cleveland Indians are now in second place behind the White Sox. They're game back, 18-14. The White Sox are hitting the crap out of the ball, +53 in run differential. You got to start looking at over-unders for them, or definitely run lines, because they're going to be laying $2 odds here when you're looking at your wagering for the White Sox. And if you're looking at run differential, 53/32, that's about 1.4 runs on average is the difference per game. So you're laying a run and a half on these baseball odds. You got to start looking at them. They're going to be about -130, -120. Depends on who the pitcher is on the opposition. But you might even get plus odds on them, and it might be worth it at that point. They're on a 3-game winning streak. The White Sox are. They just came off a sweep last week of the Royals in Kansas City, and they did have a loss over the weekend to Cleveland on Friday night. Boston, we said 22-14, the best record in the American League. And in fact, that was right, the best record in Major League Baseball, even after the loss yesterday. +33 in run differential. The Yankees are 3 back, 2 back in the loss column at 18-16. Tampa Bay 19-17. They're starting to play better. Toronto, have you seen those young kids play for Toronto? Their pitching is going to hurt them a little bit later on down the year, but they're +25 in run differential. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., remember his dad, a Hall of Famer. Bo Bichette, playing shortstop, hitting with power as well too. You remember his dad with the Blake Street Bombers and the Colorado Rockies, Dante Bichette, and Kevin Biggio playing third base. Hit his first home run in Houston in his career Saturday night against the Houston Astros. And why is that significant? Because Kevin Biggio, and you may recognize the name as well too, a son of another future Hall of Famer who made his mark for 20 years in Houston, and that must have been a thrill for him. Craig Biggio, the dad, the Hall of Fame catcher, second baseman, outfielder, wherever you wanted to play him. A great player, 3,000 hits for the Astros organization, the face of the Astros organization for 18 to 20 years with that organization. Kevin Biggio making his mark with the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, before we get to the NBA a little bit, let's get to the odds for today. I have the odds somewhere here as I find it. Interesting games today. The Reds and Pirates. Brubacher pitching today. Slight favorite there, 7.5 the total. Chase Anderson, Eric Freddie. Chase Anderson, the Phillies, they're in second place. The Nationals in last place. Why are the Phillies underdogs? Because they can't hit with men on base. Said that. Do your research on who the lineup is. They're all struggling with men on base right now. St. Louis on their winning streak is at Milwaukee. It's going to be a good matchup right now. The first and second place teams in the National League Central. Kwang Hyun Kim, the left-hander, is very deceitful, but he's also throws 96 miles an hour. Peralta having a good year with the Brewers as well. Pablo Lopez goes for the Marlins against Madison Bumgarner, who lost in Miami last week. He looks to get back on track. Matthew Boyd, there's a name again for the Tigers. He's an underdog at home to Brady Singer and the Royals, who are struggling right now. They're on an 8-game losing streak by the Kansas City Royals. So a home dog for Matthew Boyd and the Tigers might be the recipe, might be the elixir for the recipe right now to get out of that losing streak. The A's going to the Red Sox, as we said, the Red Sox the best record, the A's second best record in the American League. It's going to be an interesting series. Nathan Eovaldi's pitched okay for them. For the Red Sox, goes up against Chris Bassett, 125, the early line, 8.5 the total. Look and see what the weather's going to be like in Boston. I hear it's going to rain, and I don't know how that helps the ball fly or not fly, depending on which way the wind is blowing. Obviously, the monster there, the A's have been hitting the ball lately. They just came off a 2-3 with the Tampa Bay Rays. New York Yankees will visit Tampa. That's always a good series when the Yankees and Tampa get together. Jordan Montgomery, a slight favorite over Luis Patino, the rookie right-hander. Minnesota, Chicago for the AL Central. Minnesota, what is wrong with Minnesota? They can't play defense. That's what's wrong with it. They're hitting solo home runs. Their first baseman, Miguel Sano, as of a few days ago, is hitting 115, and he's your starting first baseman. 115. How long would that last in New York for either the Mets or the Yankees, or how long would that last in L.A. for the Dodgers or Angels with that kind of production? And then Shohei Ohtani, the best story in baseball right now is a hitter and a pitcher. They're going up against the Astros tonight. Let me refresh here. They're going up tonight against the Astros on that 2-game winning streak, and we'll see how well it goes for them as they get to go to Houston again. So a lot of things going on in Major League Baseball. Back in 30 with the NBA lines and the NBA previews. Did you see Steph Curry last night hit that game-winning 3 against the best team in basketball? Warriors on a roll right now. They guarantee themselves at least a spot in the play-in tournament. We'll have that and more with the NBA preview and the NBA lines for tonight. I'm Vasi Vatapar, the Make the Money and Run podcast preview for Tuesday morning, 9:05 a.m., 9:20 now on the West Coast, 12:20. How's your Tuesday going so far on the East Coast at your lunch hour? Back in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for Tuesday, a little short limited edition here, just going over some of the Tuesday games. Big baseball happening last night in San Francisco and in Houston, as well as Jacob deGrom getting hurt. The White Sox playing well. The Cardinals are also playing well. They got the Brewers in an NL Central matchup. I forgot who the White Sox have, but they're playing well as well too. Kansas City and Detroit, the other Central team. And in the East, the Boston Red Sox will host the second-best team in the American League. By record-wise, the Oakland A's come in with Nathan Eovaldi and Chris Bassett going on. All right, the NBA from last night. Let's go through the scores a little bit. Point spread-wise, the Indiana Pacers pushed on their line of 9 with the Cavaliers, 111-102. The Wizards, even without Bradley Beal and their 30 points, they still got over the total of 237. Casey and I talked about that yesterday. How do you get to that many points? Well, you have Russell Westbrook, who's getting nothing but triple doubles, another triple double. Russell Westbrook, he and Oscar Robertson are neck and neck in terms of the overall triple double lead for a career. Wizards did cover 8 points without Bradley Beal. That line might have been a little high. Got scared off with Beal not playing there, but I would have taken the Wizards in that game yesterday. 125 to 124. Grizzlies, one of my picks yesterday. The Pelicans came off a big win on Sunday, back-to-back, usually not very good for the road teams. But the Pelicans played well. They're trying to get into that play-in side from the 11th seed. 7 to 10, remember, the play-in seeds for each conference in the NBA. 115, 110. The final for Memphis, a 9.5-point favorite, does not cover. The game does go over. The Milwaukee Bucks, you cannot figure out the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't ask me to figure out. Here they are playing well. They're 3 back of the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference. They're on a roll. They go on the road, and they lay a big fat egg to the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs struggled, but what does Milwaukee do? They don't play defense, and they haven't played defense all year. They gave up 146 points to the San Antonio Spurs last night. 146. What is going on in the NBA? There is no defense. If you saw my interview with Jim Cosmore last week, who the heck is playing defense in the NBA? I mean, look, 45 to 36 in the first, 42 to 28 Spurs in the second, 29-26 in a defensive quarter in the third by the Bucks, 33-32 in the fourth. 146 points. The Spurs played okay defense, I guess. They gave up 125 points. Let me look at the box score here and see what the shooting was. 50% for the Bucks from the field, 13 of 41 from three, so 31%. The Spurs, 59.6%, 17 of 29 from threes. That's 59%. For those of you doing the math in your head, that's unbelievable. And that's where you get to 146 points. San Antonio covers the 7.5 as a home dog, and they go way over the total. And then the Trailblazers got an 11-point win over the Rockets. The Rockets have good offense, and these point spreads against the Rockets are pretty heavy. And we suggest, at least for the last week, stay off the Rockets, because they're going to be getting 15, 16, 17 points against some of these good teams that are going to come in. I know Utah had their way with them the other night, but 140 to 129, another easy over in the NBA, in the land of overs, because there's no defense in the NBA. Did I mention there's no defense in the NBA? Yeah, I mentioned there's no defense in the NBA. So 140 to 129 for Portland. Let me look at this box score here real quick just to see what happened here. Olynyk had 21 for Houston. DJ Augustine at 21. I mean, these aren't household names. They're people, if you know the NBA, 129 there. 4 guys for Portland. 4 starters had 20+, and one had 30, and you can guess who the one is. Damian Lillard had 34. Howell, 28. Nurkic, 22. McCollum, 28. Covington at 6. And by the way, no Carmelo Anthony. He didn't play last night either, so he would have had 15 or 16 more. So maybe that's where the difference was with the cover. 140 to 129, the Trailblazers over the Rockets. How about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors? Holy cow. They are on fire right now. The Utah Jazz came in with a 5-game winning streak. The point spread was only -2. You figure the Utah Jazz playing well. The Warriors, sometimes they go into lulls and sometimes they don't play defense. Last night they came out and played for 48 minutes. They almost gave it away at the end. So let's say 45 minutes before giving an 18-point lead back and actually down by 2. Utah could have had that game if they had gotten that defensive rebound from the first miss by Curry, but the offensive rebound scored it away, went back to the Warriors. They found Curry to give him the game winner. They were down by 2. Steph Curry hits the game winner from the right angle, and then they hit 2 more free throws, and then Utah does not get a shot off. And a 119-116 win for the Warriors. They cover the 2 points. They go over the 225.5, which was shocking. Just want to check this box score here, because Steph Curry and Bradley Beal are in a scoring race. If you didn't see the article, check it out. The article between what each team has in terms of schedule and each player has in terms of their scoring title. Now, obviously, both teams want to make the playoffs, but they're going to need both teams, so you might as well have a side story to go with this. And Steph Curry right now is the side story to the Warriors getting into the playoffs. That's the number one thing for him and for the team. So he's really not a side story. But 36 more for Curry, 11 of 25 from the field, only 3 of 13 from 3. But the big one, obviously, at the last seconds to give the victory. Utah did a good job on him. I mean, holding Curry to 36. Jordan Poole had 20. He had a big night last night, 4 of 9 from 3 as well, 14 of 42. That's 1 out of 3 for those of you doing math, 46% from the field overall. Utah 45%, 13 of 40, 44 shots they took from three. That's the NBA. Again, with Jim Cosmore last week, the New Orleans Pelicans are 25th in three-point attempts in the NBA as of last week. You know how many that is for an NBA team? That's 25th. Only 5 teams below them in three-point attempts per game. 25 a game they take. 25 threes they take. When the playoffs roll around, gentlemen, this is just one fan's advice, one observer's advice. Take the points where you can get them because possessions are going to be important in this play-in tournament and the regular playoff structure that goes in after that. Take the 2 points where you can get them. You don't have to get a 3 when you can get 2s. 2 twos are just as good as 1 3 right now in terms of scoring points. So the Warriors get the W there as we go to the schedule for today. Let me get the schedule up here. I have the point spreads up here. So let's see. Oh, there they are. All right, so here we go for the point spreads today. Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit 7.5-point underdog. They are in tank mode, but you can't underestimate the Pistons. Jeremy Grant not playing for the Pistons right now. They're in tank mode. Minnesota Timberwolves, they can score. There's no doubt that they can score. They've covered a lot of point spreads this year, but they also give up a lot of points. Minnesota Timberwolves 7.5 and 228. Denver. How about Denver? The engine that could, the little train engine that could. I forgot the nursery rhyme, but that's what it is. Anybody on Facebook can tell me what it is. 5.5 point favorites at Charlotte, 221. Jokic doing his job as MVP. Jamal Murray out, but Denver in third place ahead of the disappointing Clippers right now. We had that loss against the Knicks. We'll get to the Knicks in a second as they stay in Los Angeles. They'll be at the Lakers tonight. Denver and Charlotte at 4:10 Pacific time. Miami Heat and Boston Celtics will play the second game of their back-to-back. Boston, a 1.5-point underdog at home. They were a pick on Sunday. They had a horrible weekend. Boston is not like any other city in terms of fan appreciation or underappreciation or getting on their players. It was not good. It was not good for Brad Stevens and Kemba Walker and the rest of the Boston Celtics. Get blown out. They made it a game at the end, but they were down by 26 at home to the Miami Heat. Miami's been a little disappointing, but they're going to go in as a 1.5-point favorite. I would look into that before you seriously do that because these are professional teams, and just because what happened the other day may not happen today. A 1.5-point favorite, you're saying, oh, yeah, Miami. By the way, well, if it was a blowout like that at halftime and they were up for the game and it was very comfortable, don't you think that line would be a little higher? I got a feeling Jason Tatum, even though they don't have Jaylen Brown, got a feeling Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and the rest of the Celtics are going to come back with a little pride. And they are in 7th place right now, and everybody's trying to get out of that 7 to 10 spot right now in terms of the play-in tournament. Clippers, what a terrible loss they had to the Knicks. Now they fly across the country to Miami, actually to St. Petersburg, where the Toronto Raptors are. They're 12.5-point favorites. Excuse me, at Toronto, 217.5 the total. Toronto in and out with Lowry, in and out with Siakam. Bad defense this year. Nick Nurse having a tough time this year coaching the defending champions from 2 years ago, the Toronto Raptors, for a full season. But you don't know if Lowry's going to play. You don't know if Siakam's going to play. They're in 11th place. They're trying to get in ahead of Washington. That game against Washington last week hurt them when they went to overtime. And the Wizards came up with a win after blowing a 13-point lead to the Raptors last week. The Clippers and Raptors tonight. Brooklyn, what about Brooklyn? No James Harden. The funny thing about James Harden is getting a lot of criticism for not playing. He's hurt. Same thing happened with Donovan Mitchell, but nobody gives him flack in Utah. None of the NBA people are giving Donovan Mitchell flack for his injury, but because of the Nets, the way they're constructed, and the triumvirate of Irving and Durant and James Harden, they're taking a lot of flack that they're not playing the rest enough for the playoffs. They've only played 8 times together as a threesome, and James Harden's 25-8 since being traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So he's the key to that cog, even with Durant and Irving. They are 4.5-point favorite at the very, very improved Chicago Bulls. That is not a game to take lightly. Chicago took care of Boston the other day by 20 points on Friday. They're part of the Boston Massacre from the weekend before, like how I tied that in. 4.5 points. Brooklyn Nets, 232 the total. Zach LaVine back for Chicago. Vucevic has been a big addition for the Bulls. We'll get you our picks in a little bit. Dallas, a 1.5-point favorite. What is going on with Luka Doncic? I mean, he's taking shots. He's taking shots at guys' groins. He has 15 technical fouls. In the NBA, if you get 16 fouls, you miss a game. And it doesn't matter if it's playoffs or regular season. And you think the Dallas Mavericks can win a playoff game without Luka Doncic in the lineup, you got another thing coming. There is no way that Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks win. And they're lucky to be in. And if he gets suspended and they end up playing tournament, one of Mark Cuban's big criticism, he criticizes a lot anyway, but one of the big criticisms of Mark Cuban is this play-in tournament. He's right. 20 teams in the playoffs is too many, and I know they're trying to create excitement. Let's get back to normal 72-game season. I get it. for this last 2 years. You're just trying to make your way back into some kind of normalcy. Dallas at Memphis. Memphis got the win yesterday. They're at home. They're an underdog. That might be a Memphis game right now. 227 the total. Memphis doesn't play any defense, and John Morant's terrific. So it's going to be a good matchup between the two young stars of Morant and Doncic. If Doncic doesn't lose his cool and get tossed again. Best team in the Eastern Conference right now, the Philadelphia 76ers. They're going to go to Indiana. Indiana playing every regular season game as if it's a playoff game. The Philadelphia 76ers have won 8 in a row. They're going into Indiana. Indiana dumped them early in the year without Embiid playing, but he's back. 234 the total. Pacers running up and down. Obviously, the Pacers started out well. Now they're in a rut, and Philadelphia's coming in on a hot streak. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. You got to think Philadelphia's going to win. They want to maintain their lead over the Nets. And what a debacle by the Bucks. We talked about it yesterday, to lose to the Spurs by 21 on the road. It's one thing to lose, I guess, to a team that's struggling, I guess. But San Antonio, boy, they were struggling coming into the week. And Milwaukee had a chance to keep pace with them. Now they're 4 back in the Eastern Conference standings behind Brooklyn, 1 back of Brooklyn, and then 3 back of Philadelphia. Orlando, 13-point underdog to Milwaukee. I would hate to be Orlando in this situation, and Milwaukee at home, they can score 140 points at home. They can give up 140 points on the road, as evidenced by San Antonio, but they've got Orlando tonight. Phoenix will be in Golden State. Let's see how well Golden State can come off their big victory against Utah. They're a 5-point underdog, 230 the total. Phoenix Suns, big difference with Chris Paul this year. How come he's not getting any MVP love? Let's get some MVP love out for Chris Paul, because the Phoenix Suns have no business being there. And they're 2 games back of Utah, actually a game and a half back after the Utah loss, but 2 back in the loss column as we wind through the weekend to get to the play-in tournament starting next week. Oklahoma City, what are they doing? They lose. They get drummed by the Warriors twice on Thursday and Saturday. They get drummed by the Kings on Sunday night. They're going to play the Kings again. The line still keeps staying around 10.5. At some point, the Thunder are going to have to play. This is embarrassing to be an Oklahoma City Thunder player, Oklahoma City Thunder member of the association right now, member of the team, the executive board. They're getting beat by 25-30 regularly every night. And I just can't see a situation where you take Oklahoma City plus 10.5 tonight. Sacramento, 10.5, 224 the total. Talked about the Knicks earlier. What a win they had against the Clippers on Sunday on the road. People say they're playing the best defense. Their pace is very slow. The slowest paced team in the league. They play possession by possession. Tom Thibodeau, you remember his days with the Chicago Bulls when he had Derrick Rose. They are a methodical defense team, possession by possession. And the Lakers like to run a little bit. Anthony Davis is back. They had a big win against the Suns the other night as a big underdog, a 7.5-point underdog to the Suns. They are 5.5 for the Lakers, 5.5 to 213.5. That over under very scary because of the way the Knicks play the pace. But 213.5 might go over. Lakers at home, you think would have the advantage, especially after what the Knicks did. Lakers saw what happened on Sunday. It's in their building, for crying out loud. So they saw what the Knicks did to the Clippers on Sunday, and you got to think that the Lakers are ready for the Knicks. They're in 7th place right now. Let me check the standings before we get onto it. Standings are Boston 7, Charlotte 8, Indiana 9, Washington 10 in the East. Lakers, Golden State, Memphis, San Antonio 7 and 10 in the East, in the West as well. Utah, Phoenix, Clippers, Denver, Dallas, the top 5, and Portland, the top 6 in the West. In the East, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, New York, Atlanta, and all of a sudden the surging Miami Heat 6th in the West. They have a chance to go into as high as, they may not get 3rd where Milwaukee is, but as high as 4 and get a home court advantage to the Miami Heat. All right, one more segment here of hockey. Let's get to the hockey games. Only 2 hockey games left here. And then I'll give you a couple picks here. Boston Bruins, Washington Capitals. Capitals favored by about 160. Vancouver Canucks, Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg 175. 6 on the total there. Washington and Boston at 6 as well, too. Very interesting to see how this season runs out. The season will end. I believe the season is going to end next Wednesday. The regular season will end next Wednesday on May 19th, and their playoff format will start. All right. Early pick today for me. Let me go back to the baseball here because I want to make sure I get this right. The early game, and then if there's other changes, we'll make picks. Casey and Charlie will make picks on the Instagram page as well, too. But I wanted to get an early pick in, and I'll give you a couple other picks that I have that I know I'm going to take today as well, too. The early game with the San Francisco Giants and the Texas Rangers. We know the San Francisco Giants are red hot right now. Rangers came off 2 out of 3 over Seattle. I wish I had called my friend McCovey Cove Dave. You see him in the water out there. He has all the weather charts, and that's how he gets all the balls. He's a numbers guy. It's 8.5 is the total at Oracle Park today between Logan Webb and Jordan Lyles. Logan Webb 1-3, a 5.5 ERA. Jordan Lyles about a 7 ERA, but he had an 8.5 ERA in April, and in his 2 starts in May, his ERA is 8. He had a lower ERA in April. I'm sorry, his ERA was